And today is such a nice day. It's not going to last too long, but living in the deep south, especially in the Gulf, the weather gets extremely hot during the summertime. So it's good to enjoy, um, you know, the cooler months before it passed by. Especially, I guess the reason I want to make this video is the amount of mental trauma that it takes probably years to really get it out your system. You know, my whole life was stolen from me being part of this dangerous Jehovah Witness cult. I mean, if I wasn't born a Jehovah Witness, of course life would probably have its, not probably, life would have ups and downs. Life would be a struggle. You know, even the richest man in the world still have struggles in this place. You know, this is a mysterious place we call Earth. And I don't think a lot of people really realize why we here. It's kind of mysterious. But the Jehovah Witnesses have an answer for everything. They feel like they are the authority of the Bible. The Bible was written just for the anointed. And out of the mercy of the anointed, and especially the faithful in the street slave class, the governing body, they feel like they're showing acts of mercy on a great crowd, which the Bible never explained the two-class system where you have the anointed and the governing body, which the anointed are the 144,000, and the faithful in the I want to say the faithful in the street slave class is the it's like the governing body. They kind of separate that too, because you have the anointed, but then you have the belief that the 11 guys in New York is like similar to the way of the Apostle Paul and Peter. They would come together with certain elders to discuss issues like on circumcision, like with the Jews and the Gentiles back in the day, or how to disseminate food to the needy. So they look at themselves as those guys in modern times. But we know everything about the process which they use is nothing spiritual about it. It's a voting system. It's a lot of opinions. Those opinions affect people, especially if you're me. You know, my parents, well, my dad learned the truth in 1973. He had a lot of issues. I'm not going to say exactly what it was, but he wasn't, if he would have continued down that path, he probably wouldn't have been here long. So when the witness came to his house, he listened to him, and they said they was going to make a return visit. And he was nervous the whole week leading up into the return visit. And I think the reason he was nervous is because he took it serious. You know, he really thought these people was from God, and he still do believe that to this day. So when they finally came, he was really nervous, and he took a study with him, and he never turned back. I want to say 7 months later, he was baptized, and not too long after that, he became a ministerial servant, and not too long after that, he became an elder, and he's been an elder for longer than I've been alive. I was born in '87. When I was born, my parents was a little older, and my whole life was stolen from me because I never had the chance to enjoy my youth. I was teased constantly for being a witness. I didn't know the beliefs. Nobody ever explained to me and sat down with me to explain what I would have to expect being a witness. I was persecuted throughout my life. I wasn't able to be a part of sports. I wasn't able to express myself through art. Was discouraged for going to college. Even when I wanted to go to Bethel, I was told not to, I can't go, I have nobody to support me. So either way it go, my whole life was just wasted in this religion. So that's why I'm so adamant about my views on the Jehovah Witnesses, because I believe for extreme cases like me, which I just gave you a brief summary, it goes way deeper than this. This religion is, to me, the worst religion you could ever be a part of. You know, a lot of people, when they come to the Kingdom Hall for the first time, they get love bombed. Just like walking in the door of a friend's house and their dog jumps on you and ready to play. That's how the witnesses greet newcomers, but it's a sinister reason on why they do that. Anybody who know anything about cults always love bomb and make you feel special. And for people that's going through something in life, when that happens, when that finally happens, it's man, I'm getting attacked by bugs over here. When that finally happens, I'm getting bit up by bugs. They feel like they've arrived to something that they've been looking for their whole life. The witnesses take the scripture, the man who found the pearl, I think, of high value, and he sold all his inheritance to buy the pearl. It's amazing how they take scriptures and they twist it. That's why I said it's the worst religion, because in the 70s and in the 1975 and before that, the witnesses predicted that the end of the world would come, I want to say in 1914, 1925, I'm sure in the 30s, and in 1975. A lot of people actually sold their possessions. And I didn't do the exact research on it, but the pearl of high value, the illustration Jesus gave, the reason they bring that illustration up is because a lot of witnesses actually sold their properties, their inheritance that they got from generations, people before them, things, all their valuables, land, property. They even gave the organization money because they really believed that the end of the world was imminent. And come to find out, it never came to fruition. So it's amazing how they could take a scripture like that and make you believe that the pearl of high value is the organization, and you should give everything to that organization. So they've inserted themselves in the Bible. The Bible never said that a publishing company in upstate New York would be the only channel reaching to God. So it's amazing at how they could twist scriptures, and they've been doing this for years. But that's not the reason that I left. The reason I left was because of just the traumatic experience I had, and the fact that I've looked back at decades of my life that I never lived, things I never did. I noticed the interactions between the people, the racism, Jesus, I want to say in John 13, 34 and 35 said that you would know his people by the intense love they have amongst each other. If you look at it, okay, yeah, Jehovah Witnesses have international assemblies where people of different races and cultures come together. But when you actually enter into a congregation, you meet some of the most unsavory type of people. People that have a lot of hatred in their hearts. And a lot of it may not be their fault. It may be because they're in a cult and they're constantly asked to give more, to give more. They're constantly asked to repress the sexual needs, actually. You have people that's in the organization that never experience romance. Think of what that can do to your psyche. You have to constantly repress these desires, and it could lead to alcoholism. It could lead to excessive porn, voyeurism. The Jehovah Witnesses actually increase the burden of their members. They don't take the load off, like Jesus said, my load is light. But they like to use those scriptures because they think they're fulfilling them. They actually increase the burden. They actually increase the financial burden by telling the individuals not to work overtime, by telling the individuals to work part-time jobs. And it's hard to make ends meet, but they tell you to trust in Jehovah. Well, Jehovah never said that you should not work a full-time job. If you really observe the apostles from the Bible, they was constantly working and fishing and to make ends meet. Even when they was with Jesus, they would constantly work. in between that. You know, Paul was a maker of tents, and he had a work to do, but most of the people in the congregation had full-time jobs. They had to work all the time. Having a job have nothing to do with your love for God. Actually, the scriptures say that a man that don't provide for his family is worse than an unbeliever. But the Jehovah Witnesses, the governing body, have a way with twisting the truth, which I think is very diabolical. And it's hard to, the reason that this high control organization is dangerous, it's hard to really see what they're doing until you really step back and you really observe it. But when you see it, you can't unsee it. When you see it, you cannot unsee it. And the elders, I mean, they're just on power trips. It's nothing actually spiritual. Being a Jehovah Witnesses is like checking into a job. The reason they don't want you to work overtime or, you know, get wealth is because they want you to view them as your main job. You know, back in the day, you had to have a certain amount of hours, like a 10-hour average. You was encouraged to make so many Bible studies. You're encouraged to read and study often enough. And the reason they do that is to eat up all your time. They're really jealous of other competition. Just say like jobs. Most people do 40 hours a week. The witnesses hate that. The witnesses wish that you don't have to have a job and you could just devote all your attention to them. Why they misappropriate the money. So I've had times where I could have had good jobs or maybe I went to school, but I didn't because I was told not to. Now you suffer later in life. And now you don't have the fulfillment. And you're scratching and clawing trying to get through life. Because I had the golden opportunity being in America. I'm already a black male, so I needed all that I can get, but yet this organization took me from that opportunity. Some people say, well, it's not too late, but the emotional effects is there. My whole emotional body, my will has been crushed for a long time, and I've been in this state for my whole life. And I never had nobody that really listened to what I had to say. Whenever you ask witnesses for help, they'll just say, well, have you been doing personal study? If you have marital issues, well, have you been doing family study? Nothing to really help the person, nothing to really get to the bone marrow of the problem. Because if they would do that, they would be self-examining themselves, because the reason most witnesses are depressed is because of the organization. It's not because they're dealing with some kind of mental problem. No, the mental problem was brought on by the organization itself. The fact that you was told when to get baptized. You know, I was coerced strongly and almost forced to be baptized. Really forced to be baptized because my dad was an elder and I was a 15 turning 16. And it would be deemed that he wouldn't be a good example to the congregation if I was continue to go on not being baptized. So he pushed me to be baptized and I didn't want to do it. You know, so now I signed a contract, and when you get this fellowship as a witness, you lose all your family. So look, I didn't have a choice in the matter. You know, your whole life is just a sacrifice as a kid. You know, just for some selfish elder to go to judicial meetings, policing a person's mistakes. And they tell you in the Bible, don't call a man on earth father, only your God in heaven. And they would always use that scripture to down talk Catholics. How, you know, Catholics confess their sins to the priest. But when you look at it, they're doing the same thing. They're actually projecting. It's not just one person, it's a committee or two people sometimes, just to see what the problem is, and then they bring you into a committee meeting. So if you slipped up and made a mistake and smoked weed or got drunk a few times or maybe had sex with a person, you're not forgiven. You're policed. They try to see how contrite your heart is. If they deem you're not contrite, you could be disfellowship. You could be reproved. You could be privately reproved. And the worst part is, Jehovah Witnesses gossip so much that even if you're not severely punished like disfellowship, it's like that dark cloud hangs over your head because everybody know what you did, because the elders always tell their wives what's going on. In those confidential meetings, it's not confidential at all. I had that happen to me where over the campfire, people would discuss my sins that I came to the elders willingly. That's the type of person I was, because I really believed it was God's channel. I believed in that channel, the elders, the overseers, all the way up to the governing body. And those elders would always leak information constantly. Nothing was confidential. And the witnesses feel like they own you. They feel like, okay, you sign on with us. The elders are like your managers, your bosses. So they cut people down. They talk down to people. They make you feel like shit, you know. And that's just the surface of it, though. It's so much involved in this organization. And that's all it is an organization. It's a scamming organization. It's very, the reason, the more I look at people's testimonies, the more I feel like I'm not alone. I thought I was in a boat of my own, but I'm not. It infuriates me, but I have to find a way out. I have to stop thinking about it, but it's hard to. I was born a witness. I was born. I'm 37 now. I really left last year, you can say. So 36 years of my life, it's hard to just flip that switch off. The witnesses and what they did to me occupy a big part of my mind, and it's a big reason of why I struggle today. Even with relationships, I was taught to be honest, to just view people the way you would want to be viewed, and I keep getting burnt in relationships. People try to take my money, people try to exploit me and misuse me. That's all because my mind was engineered by these people, man. I was molded by this wicked organization, and it's a lot of trauma involved with that. So, you know, I may have to get help, you know, some kind of help mentally, because I was a part of it for so long. That and another thing too is a lot of the witnesses don't really check up on you. They don't really apologize for anything. So I see why people would be driven to commit suicide. For some reason, I'm able to be by myself for long periods of time, and a lot of that have to do with the fact that my dad would punish me for months. I think Ivan was punished for a whole year, and my punishment was I couldn't even stay inside. I had to stay in my room, solitary confinement. I even had to eat inside of my room because I was just going through traumatic experiences. I didn't have no outlet for nobody to help me. So my dad, the teachers in my school was brutal. If you just say hello to a student when class was in session, you were sent to the principal's office. So it appeared that I was doing bad in school, but I wasn't. So he decided to police me again and gave me a good beating a few times, and I was punished excessively. He said, this could go on your whole life if they have to.